let me head back. Right. So the whole purpose of the Middle East Tech Marketers Network is to share knowledge, best practice, and aid other members who are involved in the daily practice of B2B tech marketing. And for that, I'm absolutely extremely appreciative of your contribution in making this group engaging and interactive. At this point, I would also request everyone to, if they can unmute themselves, open their cameras so we are all able to greet each other and have a, and see each other through this medium. Would be great to see if everybody could do that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a few minutes so that everyone can see each other if possible. That would be really, really great.
Hello.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's good
Hi.
to see we're not the only ones. I think we are all participating in some or the other. What is it? Beard or mustache challenge? At least the boys are. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Right. Sonal, you can only see your forehead.
Oh, you cannot see me? Yeah? Now?
Now we can see you.
Yeah?
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay.
I think this time
Perfect.
Hi,
November has
guys.
come early.
Sorry?
Sorry?
I said November has come early this time due to the
Oh,
quarantine.
you bet. True. Absolutely true. I think we're all in, I think we're going to win some prize or the other at the end of this whole thing, I'm sure. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much. It's great to see your faces. It's great to see happy faces at the end of a very long day, I'm sure, right? And people, I'm sure you guys are excited to hear Santosh speak. I am. So let me go back to sharing my screen for a second, and then we can take it forward from there. Brilliant. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, perfect. All right. All right. Would request you all to, switch off your cameras, mute your mics for the next few minutes, and then, of course, during Santosh's session, so that everybody can listen in. We can avoid having the background noises. A little bit of housekeeping, but would appreciate that. But it's been great to see your faces, and I hope to see your faces once again at the end of this session before we all sign off. Right. So the agenda for today is, it's very simple, right? After I finish having you guys hear my voice, we're going to move on to the topic of the day, which is business growth through marketing analytics, as we mentioned in our invite. And then we'll conclude with a small Q&A round. Santosh would be available to answer any questions that may arise basis of the topic. So would be great. So as I mentioned, our topic for today is business growth through marketing analytics, right? A very, very critical topic, as it helps us understand how analyzing our marketing activities could not just provide a deeper and better insight into our campaigns or the spend and the ROI that we get out of it, but also have a deep impact on the overall business growth, right? My approach to marketing has always been from a business standpoint rather than a pure marketing standpoint, having been a business guy most of my career. And I believe this topic is extremely critical in understanding how that spend and how those activities that all of you who engage as daily practitioners of this amazing profession are able to add value to your organizations. It gives me great pleasure in introducing our speaker for today, Santosh Pania. He's the Channel Marketing Manager for Middle East, Mediterranean, and Africa at Aruba, right? A veteran with over 2 decades of B2B marketing experience, and one who's very, very passionate about his domain, which is technology marketing, right? I've had the privilege of spending many hours with him discussing the whole practice of marketing and its applicable impact on organizations, its offerings, markets, and audiences. He's got tons of ideas, lot of experience, great knowledge, and I'm really looking forward to hearing him speak today. So before I invite Santosh to take over, my time to talk is over, right? I'd like to do a couple of things. First and foremost, I'd like to thank a couple of our members who volunteered their time, their talent to bring this particular session by itself and the overall group together. First, Sonali Vasu Roy, thank you very much for organizing and chasing everyone to register and participate in this inaugural Infinity Share session. Really appreciate it. And it shows that this group is for everybody and it's owned by everybody. So thank you very much. The second person that I'd really like to thank today is Reshma Yashodhran. Thank you for designing this amazing logo for our group. I appreciate your volunteering to do that, and you putting your effort behind it, and it's come out beautifully. I think we've had some great feedback and positive reviews from all the members. So thank you once again for the same. Well, secondly, some housekeeping rules. Request you to ensure your mics are on mute, camera switched off during the presentation. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Santosh about his talk, about his presentation, please feel free to use the chat option and put your question there. At the end of his session, I will ask each one of those who've raised the query on a first come first basis to unmute themselves and ask the query so that Santosh can respond, and everybody gets a chance to get the queries answered and listen to the responses also. Right, and of course at the end, before we all sign off, would be great to have everybody's videos and mics back on again so that we can cohesively and as a group end the session. So without further delay, I request Santosh to kick off the inaugural session of the Middle East Tech Marketers Network's Infinity Share series. I'm going to switch off my screen share and my camera, and I'm going to ask Santosh to share his presentation. Santosh, over to you.
Thank you, Nehal. Thank you all. It's my privilege to start off the series, to share my own experiences and my understanding of what digital analytics will impact, how it will impact the business growth. So let me just start my presentation. Where is it, my presentation? Pardon me, I'm new to Teams, so I'm trying to find where my presentation went. Oops. Too many presentations.
Technology at its best, right, Santosh?
Sorry?
Technology at its best.
Yeah, just a second. Where did I keep it? Share. Just a sec. Let me share the desktop. It will be better. Okay, pardon my mails. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, Santosh, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfectly fine. Okay. Okay, so let me start again. Thank you. And the whole agenda of this session is basically to cover actually five. I will cover in 5 different parts of it. First 3 would be basically to make you understand what exactly are digital analytics in a nutshell. It won't go in depth in terms of how an organization can be ready for digital analytics and what are the building blocks of it. And then we will go into the key aspects, which is the analytics hacks for business growth. What kind of reports and what kind of data or what kind of analysis will really help a business or actually help us resolve business needs. And then just a small overview of the digital analytics stack kind of softwares and solutions which are available in the current market. So this is what the agenda is all about. So before we go into this, let me I need to introduce you to one of the most important person during this presentation. Meet Mr. Osam. He is the CEO of a 3-year-old company called Osam International Technology, HIT, specializing in IT solutions in the Middle East region. So their growth is decent. They intend to expand in various frontiers. Another person which I need to introduce is Ms. Sarah, their marketing manager. And being a young company, they are more geared towards driving data-driven kind of culture. So one of the reasons why Ms. Sarah requested a digital analytics position to be filled in. Hossam is skeptical, but still gives in demand on a condition that marketing will drive strong growth expectation for the company. So this is it. Enter Mr. Kohli. Now he is an experienced digital analytics with 10 analyst with 10 years of experience in IT sector. For Ms. Sarah to select Kohli, there were a couple of questions she had asked in terms of what is digital analytics and how will it make sure that HIT is capable to make data-driven decisions. Are you guys following me? Am I too fast? Am I too slow?
No, just perfect, Santosh. Keep going, please.
Okay, perfectly fine. Because now, so the responses are, why do we need analytics? As we normally used to tend to make decisions based on what we have experienced, tend to make decisions based on assumptions, and sometimes on gut feelings or faith of a situation. But each of these three scenarios, there are some what do we call it as some limitations to it. Now, experience cannot be scaled. Okay, you have your own experiences, you have done your job, but you cannot pass it on those experiences to your colleagues or to your people who are working with you instantaneously. It will not come out as you would know about it. So it's not scalable. Assumptions is it's an assumption. Unless it is proven, it doesn't really give you a clear-cut indication that you're correct on your decision part of it. So there's a risk-taking involved over here, and this is something which I was told by my boss when I started in my first company. He told me don't assume. So I did not understand what did he mean by that. He said assume means making an ass of you and me. So this is where I really believe in, and this is where the assumptions, unless until you don't have analytics, you have not tested the assumptions, you should not be using those in. Now, faith and feeling. Most of the top guys, top management, top salespeople normally go by feelings. And this is where you would find a lot of friction in the organization, that the top management would come to you and say, or anybody in the management would come to you, see, or not even management, but a sales manager or anybody else might say, I have a strong feeling, let's go with this, maybe a design, maybe anything. But they're all also have a strong bias. It's strong bias because of cultural differences, because of their upbringing, whatever be. There's a lot of things which can influence the feeling and the faith, and it may not be accurate. Not to remove, but to augment all this thing, we need to have data and proper analytic process so that when we make a decision, it's mostly driven by data, where we can tell that if you do certain thing, if you go by certain behavior, this is what will happen. So here is what do you call a definition of analytics. Analytics is science of analysis, and a clean definition of analysis is that breaking down complex topics into smaller parts for better understanding. And there's a guy called Stephen Hem. He has defined digital analytics. So what he has said is that how an organization arrives at an optimal and realistic decision informed by data is called digital analytics. So if you look at it, there are a couple of how the certain words which are bold. So basically, how is the process? Organization is an entity. Optimal and realistics are basically two opposite end which needs to be balanced. Optimal means there is no constraint. You make decision based on what is really available to you with no constraints. So no budget constraints, no legal constraints. In that scenario, how would you make a decision? And realistic is something where you have a lot of constraints which you face in the market. So you need to balance both of them. Decision is the action which you will take, and informed by data basically is something which is where the human brain takes over. They interpret the data and then takes a decision. This is what do we call it as a university definition of analysis and analytics. Digital analytics is being followed upon as informed by Mr. Kohli. Before he goes into depth, there's something else which he wants to touch upon when he speaks to Ms. Sarah, that there are three elements of analytics. Before he wants to take on the job, he needs to make sure that he's ready for, he makes the organization ready for the analytics, digital analytics execution. So there are three elements of analytics. It is the context, the data, and how creative you are with the data. So data is the basis of everything here. So unless until you don't have data, you cannot make any information or any knowledge about it. And if you don't know the context in which the data is being collected or behaving, then you don't know what exactly is happening. And creativity is something which basically helps you to understand what is beyond the obvious. So you may look at certain reports. Let's go here. This is a data, which is called 99.9% is the data. Information is that there is a 99.9% transaction which are successful. Now this is data and information. Knowledge is that as per the industry standard, the 99.9 successful transaction is below norm. It's normally should be 99.95%, especially on the finance segment of it. They normally have a successful transaction rate of 99.95, not 99.9. So here we understand that the information which you have, there's an action which needs to be taken. And this is where it comes into play, is the wisdom part, where you make an action of moving from 99.9 to 99.95%. This is what exactly happens from getting the data, making an analysis, and creating an action towards it. So this is where we normally want to intend to drive using the digital analytics function. For every organization to be ready, there is a digital analytics maturity model. It's a pretty vast topic, but I would not go more in depth into it. I would just touch base on that every organization need to measure itself at how do they stand on the digital analytic maturity model. The maturity model looks at 5 different aspects of how ready they are in terms of implementing a maturity model. So the management and governance adoption of it, the objectives and scope of the work which they expect, the team and the expertise level which they have, and do they have a continuous improvement process and methodology, and the tools and technology in the software or things which they require to run the digital analytics function. So now this is important. Most of the organization in the current scenario, you would look at that everybody is geared towards more tools and technology. They tend to have focus on more tools. They want to buy software. They want to take on new subscriptions of data analysis or any tools which are available current in the market, and they think they would be ready to execute the functions and create a lot of reports out of it, which basically is just one part of it. They need to be very sure of what exactly is the objective and the scope of digital analytics in the organization. Are they looking at a complete digital transformation, or just to work as an e-commerce or enable an e-commerce model in the organization? So there are various levels of it. So for our example's sake, I will just go with a basic level of it, where the job for Mr. Kohli is to enable the digital analytics function for a marketing organization. So his main function is to make sure that the digital analytics objectives and scopes are geared towards marketing. The management and governance and adoption process are there for the entire marketing team. The team and expertise are involved, so they do are involved with the content marketing, uh, the digital marketing, uh, advertisement part of it, the product and the solution marketing guys involved in it. So all the teams are there, and there's a process which they can keep following up to improve their process. So and have a basic technology tools and data integration across the all segments. First thing what he does is basically he creates 4 building blocks where he gets all the data regarding the company. So he has an audience building block, he has an acquisition building block, he has a behavior building block, and he has a conversion building block. So these are important 4 building blocks of any digital analytics model. So you need to have audience section where you can you'll know what audience, how the audience can be segmented on, what a kind of personas are you following up on, etc. Acquisition is what type of how are you acquiring new customers, which channel is working perfectly fine. Behavior is how the customers are behaving or how the prospects are behaving on the properties or of the properties in the organization. And the conversions is basically how the conversion happening in terms of what you guys want your prospect or customer to do when they go to certain specific site or an off-site location. So this is what is a building block for analytics. The important thing is that they also have to create a customer lifecycle journey. You need to be very sure where you are going from, how your customer is going from being a prospect to becoming an advocate of your products. So for this, for our sake of discussion, I've just created this example of life cycle. Probably it's a generic one. There can be various different versions of it, different models which are available currently in the education arena. So we're just going with this, the attract, consider, convert, retain, and advocate version of it. These were the basic stuff which Mr. Kohli had to get it done before he could really start delivering on what would be the business expectations required from the marketing standpoint. So now Mr. Hossam and Ms. Sarah had their own annual review. They come up with new objectives for the next year. So business objectives by Mr. Hossam had been identified, as you can see on the slides, that they need to increase revenue, decrease cost, increase the gross margin. These are the basic ones which have come. This is a scenario situation. I'm just giving a basic scenario to this so that we can go step by step on it. And there would be more of a qualitative objective of being a top IT solution provider in the region. Now, we can define your marketing objectives based on business objective differently. In Sarah's case, what she has done is she has worked with Kohli to identify that to achieve the targets, they need to decrease the cost per lead by a certain person, so that they need to increase their efficiency of the operations, that is cost. They need to increase ROI by certain person so that they get better returns out of it. So here they need to increase their effectiveness of the campaigns, and they need to work on the brand recognition part, where basically we come across the net promoter score model, which is mentioned here. I'll get into in depth later on in this part of it, but this is what marketing objectives have been defined. Is it all clear? Any questions so far? Okay, I think silence means yes, so I'll go forward. So now, what are the steps which these guys have done? Now, this is as a marketing team, what they did was they created personas. So with the help of digital analytics, slicing a lot of data into various segments, dicing it by slicing and dicing is basically what you do on segmentation part of it. lot of personas, or 3 or 4 different kinds of personas are created by the team, where they define what persona is going to do. A certain persona is going to do on the website when they come on to the website. So they have a tailored content for them. What every feature, every function, and every content, any basic digital analytics function starts with a website. Especially on the marketing front, if your website is not optimized to create to cater to the personas which are coming in, you would normally lose out on whatever you are trying to do in the marketing spend or marketing campaigns, whatever be it. So if your digital website is not clearly, or content is not clearly defined as to how you're going to help a prospect move from step 1 to step 2, on how you're helping him answer his specific questions which he might uh, want to resolve his problems, this is where would be the number one failure from content perspective. So as digital analytics, there are a lot of tools available to work on testing what content works. First of all, you identify segmentations, create personas. You can do that using a basic tool like Google Analytics. You can also start working on A/B testing. You can also start working on certain select testing models to see what a segment would do on certain behavior. So heat mapping can be done. All these functions are there. So based on all these tactics which have been done, used, Mr. Kohli has created personas, segmented the prospects in various attributes. He has also mapped features and functions, and also linked it to a customer lifecycle journey on the website. So probably if it's a new prospect coming in from completely unknown region, or completely not known about this specific HIT company, he starts with attraction mode and then gradually grows into the customer life cycle journey. In some cases, there might be customer who already know about the company. They might start with the consider phase of it. In another case, there would be a person who is already a customer of it, but there is an additional cross sell and upsell opportunity which is available to them, and that's where exactly you need to push them through. So you need to know which personas and which customers would look at what content, and really cater to that specific content on the website. This is a lot of automations which can be done. There is a lot of key content trigger automation that can be done based on type of audience coming onto your page as well. So right now, a lot of things can be possible, but this is what Mr. Kohli did to really come up with targeted campaign data, targeted customer data, or prospect data, which they can really target to increase the efficiency of the marketing process. So what they did was, with the help of all of these, uh, what they achieved was basically increased efficiency. Whatever prospects that were coming onto the web page or to any other landing page of the campaigns, the conversions were pretty high because they knew what exactly the type of personas they were targeting, what is the content they would really want to consume, and how would they go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. And incidentally, on the operation aspect, you will also look at the conversion part of it, where they can also look at how or where did they fail between step 1 and step 2 of it. Hope I'm not really confusing you guys, but if you're getting confused, do let me know, because I tend to get into more details sometimes, which might not be really required. So back to the outcomes, increased efficiency. There's one thing which normally a lot of companies don't do, is use their existing data and harness them in terms of building the profile, building the audience profile for the existing customers they have, in terms of who is the person who is buying it, how they behave, where exactly are they from, how and why did they look at it. So it's basically 5 Ws and 1 H what you have to respond to. I think everybody knows about 5 Ws and 1 H. Okay, silence means yes. I'll proceed. So The tip 1 and tip 2 here is basically mentioned that you need to first of all harness your own customer data. It's a gold mine. You can make a lot more money out of it rather than trying to get new databases from outside. Key personas in customer journey. A major feature for any marketing company, a marketing manager would know that they really need to have key personas and customer journey mapped. But what they don't understand is sometimes they forget to implement this on their website and on their landing pages. Probably they would do it more on the landing pages, but not on their websites or on other digital channels which they work on. So this is what they did, and this is how they increased their efficiency. This is the second part which they did was basically on the operation aspects. This is, I think, most of the companies here work on it. Any Google advertising campaigns or display campaigns or be it any digital campaigns or marketing campaigns you guys do, you normally look at reports which comes in from those platforms and you optimize for it based on the conversions which happen. So this is where digital analytics is already taking, you already have the data in one place and it's easier to run it. So this is an easy option, easy start to work on digital campaign optimization. The most important thing here is that people really don't understand the importance of bounce rate. Does everybody know what a bounce rate is? Can I get a response? Is it, do you know bounce rate?
Yeah, Santosh. I mean, the percentage of all mails which are not getting delivered.
Bounce rate on a top landing page. Bounce rate, that will be for email.
Okay, on top landing pages.
Or landing pages or on a website. What is the bounce rate on a web page? Okay, let me.
Can I take a wild guess as if people who do not come back to the page after coming on it once?
No, it's basically if any customer comes onto a page and exits it after 5 or 10 seconds of activity or less than that, exit immediately, that's a bounce rate.
Okay.
So if you have 300 people, 100 people coming onto a specific page of your website, and if you look at the Google Analytics report, it will show you where 85% or 70% bounce rate. That means out of the 100 people which went on, or 100 unique visits which came onto that particular page, 75 or 75 or 80 visits, people just left that page. And the remaining 20 or 30, 20 or 30% of the customer went on to the next page in the website. So the objective of any of the campaign is basically that you decrease your bounce rate to 50 to 60%. That's really a good bounce rate for a particular page. And it all depends on content wise, on industry wise as well. But just for ease of use, I normally work on 50 to 60 target rate of bounce, which should be targeted for the landing pages. Probably 70 is also good enough sometimes, because if you get higher conversions of the 30% of it, it's pretty okay. But bounce rate is when people just go to your page and exit without doing anything. That means you got the wrong people onto the page. So this is an important metric. If you look at your Google Analytics, this is what you should be looking on your web page and top landing pages where you drive your customer digital campaigns. So if you're driving a lot of Google AdWord campaigns to a specific landing page, check the bounce rate for it. So you would know how much money you are wasting on ads where people just came onto the page and exited without doing anything, or exited within 2 seconds or 3 seconds of the being on the page. The third thing is the most important aspect in B2B market right now, or proven methodologies and account-based marketing, where normally all the B2B companies have identified their top accounts and they manage those top accounts on a digital channel. So it's basically they track how the customers of the top accounts are behaving on their website or onto the internet, in terms of how they're consuming their media as well. So they can see it in one window. So there are a lot of ABM softwares available in the market, but this is a very good tool to see how effective and how good is your sales in managing those accounts. So when you look at ABM is not just driven by marketing, it's a combination of sales and marketing together. So this is where Mr. Kohli again worked on, and they worked on the top accounts, improved the business rate, retention rate with the top accounts, and reorder rates with those. They optimized the communication effectiveness. They worked on channel optimization to look at which campaigns is getting them the right conversions. What if social media was really working for them, or was it Google AdWords which was working for them, which was driving more conversions? Conversions can be anything. Conversions can be a micro conversions to a macro conversions. Micro conversions is basically what you want a person to do from once they click on certain thing. So if they come to a first page, your landing page, you want them to go and click and fill a form so that they can download a report. So the conversion happens of downloading a report. There can be another conversions where it goes onto a page, but the conversions over that would be that they would consume a complete audio video YouTube video which is there. They visualize it completely. So if they see 75% of the video, that's a conversion for you, that they have already consumed your media. So there's a micro and macro conversions. Macro conversions can be basically over a campaign that you probably would have not just got email addresses, but out of email addresses, if you've done an email campaign after that, these certain number of people have come back to you and requested a meetings or came up with a discussion with the sales team. So that's a macro conversion which happens along with the micro conversions. This is where you track your total communication effectiveness of your existing marketing campaign. And here what Mr. Kohli did was optimize the channel and optimize the ad spend to make sure that they get more effective in terms of efficient in terms of getting the right people as leads. The third one, important part is a brand recognition. So if you are looking to create a brand in the market, there are various ways to doing it. One of them is a net promoter score. Net promoter score basically looks at how many of your customers would be an advocate or promoting your products to other customers, and how many of them would not be promoting it. So it's basically a score of from 0 to 100. So if you're scoring around 70 to 60, that means 60% of your customers would be promoting your products to other customers. But if your net promoter score is low, that means you need to really work on customer satisfaction and your overall brand management. There's something else on the digital which you can do is basically you can go by number of search queries by your own brand name instead of the product or commodity. So if people are starting to look for your website on Google search, and if it tends to increase year on year, that means your branding is working. People are knowing you by your brand name. You can also compare it with your competition on Google. So if you can compare how a specific brand query versus your brand is performing, you can look it at Google Trends as well over there. That gives an idea of how many people are looking by your name. Secondly, this engagement on the social and the professional channels is important. There are a lot of engagement reports which are available. Now, this is where it comes into picture. There are a lot of reports, a lot of data, a lot of analysis, a lot of things. What really would impact a business? So is something which depends on the person who is responsible for it. And there is no magic recipe to it. It's basically that you need to be aligned with the business. So if you know that if you tweak certain thing and it will really affect overall conversion in terms of sales or cost, that means it is good for a business. Important thing is that I mentioned only sales and cost. I did not mention likes or what do you call it as number of email captured. These are all micro part of it. They do not really affect business straightforwardly. They might affect it, but over a couple of other steps as well. So your objective is not to just look at first step. You have to look at the entire steps so that you can align your analytic report to basically a business outcome, not just on a marketing outcome. So there would be a lot of social engagement channels. All you have to do is make sure that you use multiple ways of doing it to come up to a hypothesis, to understand what is really happening, and come up with a dashboard which can be given to the management to understand what exactly is happening on real time. So growth tips basically is a lot of people don't even look at competitive analytics on the internet. There's a lot of data on the competition you can easily capture. You can, if you just go on the SEO part of it, if you just do a SEO analysis of your own competitor, you can easily know what keywords they rank high on and what number of keywords this particular site is the people are coming on using that specific terms. So you can then try and create a page to counter that. So this is the next step. It is not just getting to know what exactly it is, but what to do after that. So competitive analytics is key of it. There's a recent trend that you can easily capture buying intent now from a lot of customers in the region. And they are third-party providers who can give you buying intent data. Now, buying intent data can be defined in different ways, and different software does in different ways. So you have to be very careful on what you look at it. A lot of the companies, they give you buying intent data based on multiple touch points or multiple scoring of the customer. So maybe a customer would have gone and visited an industry webinar which is happening maybe on a specific topic. He would have gone and searched and looked at third party associations where this data is being discussed. He would have participated in a social media a specific post, answered a query on it on a specific topic, or raised a query on it. So there are various things which they take into consideration all of these signals and give you an information that this particular person is looking to do something. His behavior for last 3 months is such, probably it indicates that he might be looking for a solution in the next 15-20 days or next 6 months or next 12 months. It's a probability. So it might be that they would be accurate by 60 to 70% of it, or maybe 40 to 50% of it, but it's pretty more accurate than just going out and sending emails to all entire data which is available to you from third party. So it's really trying to convert people when they're ready to buy or when they're looking for solutions for the problem they have. This search data is really a growing segment for the years, for the next year or so, until the legislation comes into place. There are privacy and GDPR compliance issues which normally comes into play here, but probably they have been evading it through a lot of other issues. But this is where the digital data is coming from. Now,
Santosh, just a
yes.
quick time check. Just time check.
Yep, I would be. I'm just finishing up this last slide part of it. So
all right.
Here now, what they have reached upon is that marketing has already been optimized with a lot of reports and a lot of data, which and Mr. I forgot his name. What was his name?
Kohli.
Mr. Kohli.
Mr. Kohli, yes. So Mr. Kohli was doing it. So now what he did was he increased the digital maturity model to other business support groups like HR and sales and customer service. So there are things like helping HR identify candidates from LinkedIn instead of going to an agencies and trying to pay them a lot of money to get the proper candidate sourced. So this is where digital can help you in tracking what can be done. Secondly, customer service can be integrated with chatbots. Also create a library of questions which can come in. And also there's an option of, even in a B2B scenario, you can look at creating an e-com store basically for existing customers, where it's basically a renewal deal or a bundle of or a service package which can be just added on to an existing product they've already bought. And this can be improved by just sending a thank you or a welcome email to them, and probably this is one thing which I wanted to tell you. There was a research done. A thank you email and a welcome email normally used to get 30% more conversions done as compared to a specific marketing campaign email for that specific product, because the customer is already known and they're happy that you're welcoming them. Plus, you've already given them an additional tool which they can buy. So this is a tried and tested method. People don't do this basic stuff of sending a thank you and a welcome email to a customer when they've bought it. Secondly, I think this is I think tip 7 and tip 8 basically have already covered it. Tip 8 is basically that you should not be working more than 3 or 4 analysis reports simultaneously, because then you will drown in trying to do a lot of data across the organization. Reports and dashboards is basic, so a lot of tools are available in visualizing tools now, easily available to make it easy for you guys to show it to your management and make it easy for them to comprehend also, and also on real-time basis. So dashboard with live updates. Hossam was happy with reports, and he was happy that he was in touch with the entire business performance on his tablet. Even the marketing manager was really happy. So Mr. Kohli tried to ask for a raise, but then he got this answer that they will discuss that in his annual review. So this is what it comes to an example of an organization, how it can help, analytics can help grow business. There's something else, just wanted to touch base on this. It's simple. If you know, Avinash Kaushik is one of the key proponent of digital analytics from quite some time. I think 20 years or 15 years when he first gave a book of web analytics using Google Analytics as one of the key on Google Analytics. I think he first wrote his book. He has created one image which basically tells you which is a super tactical report and a super strategic report. So you can look at it and see what kind of report suits you when, and what you should be doing on real time, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and 6 monthly basis. And any report which you make has 2 parts of it, a dimension and a metric. So dimensions is an attribute, and metric is basically number, quantity, ratio, percentage, amount of money or time and duration. Just a little bit on the basics of an analytic report. Then this is a digital stack. Right now we have 7,000 marketing software companies in the region, in the world, who are offering a lot of solutions, a lot of tools which you can use to create analytic reports for all the aspects of marketing. I've just shortlisted some of them. Some of them are basically visualization tools, content tools, basic analytic tools. So you can go through them and see if you guys can use any free versions of it or want to buy any of it. So now I'm open to a Q&A.
Thank you, Santosh. Really appreciate the insight. Like to open up and ask our members if they have any questions. Please do ask right now. I don't see any questions on the chat layer, but would be great to see if you have any. Please do ask him now. I'm gonna request you all to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you may have around this topic. I hope everybody's listening.
Yeah. Santosh,
Since
I have a
everyone's on
question.
mute, I'm just hoping everybody's listening.
Hi, Santosh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Akshat here. Santosh, what I would like to ask is how are the results measurable, especially in scenarios such as ours, which is like B2B? I mean, the scenario that you were talking about, it's very easy to see the result of any tweak in the campaign, any tweak in your approach, because it would directly lead to sales. But with sales cycles as long as 4 months to 5 months, how do you see the impact of what change I made? Did it actually work or not? And how long should I wait for it to show effect?
In a B2B scenario, yes, an average deal cycle is normally 6 months over it. But what you look at is a period of 6 months to come up with. So you would take a time to come up with your complete end-to-end result in 6 months, but then you would start learning every year, every month after that. So when you look at your sales figures on a B2B scenario, an account management part of it, that's where the B2B account management comes into play. You're basically, your target is basically to have new customer acquired, right? That's it.
Right.
That is one of the key business outcome for any B2B segment, that how many new customers can be acquired or how many new orders can be acquired. Let's go by that way. So any new orders might take time to convert, but what you can look at is if you're able to see if a quotation is being sent across, that means the level where you have reached in terms of marketing is that you've already given the sales a tool to close deals in terms of approaching a customers and showing them an interest. Normally, if you want to get to sales level on a B2B segment, it's only through account-based marketing where you track everything. It's a complicated process. Probably it'll take a lot of time for companies here to really work on that part of it. To have a complete digital analytics available from end to end. But what you can do, look at micro and macro conversions. So you're looking at how the customers behaved in terms of your uh, micro conversions, in terms of how did they behave on landing page, how did they look at your emails. But these are all micro conversions. When you look at it, is when did they get you a meeting. So once its meeting is done, you have achieved your macro conversion. So for me,
So
basically, I
micro
look at an
conversions
opportunity
would be
creation.
repeat visits on our website or something like that. And obviously, when they go and they fill in a form or they request a meeting, that would be like, I can consider it okay. I mean, it might take 6 months to sell them the product, but at least they're in.
Yes, that means the person has shown an interest and is ready to buy. So at least you know that you're moving in the right direction. Probably you would need to connect your Salesforce data or your CRM data to your analytics to give you a complete picture. So that's where your data tools is really important. That will give you an idea. 6 months down the line, you can look at certain campaigns. Now, there's an attribution model which you can work on. So how it's not that single thing that will work, that will give you the result. It's a multi touch point, and how much you give a weightage to each touch point depends on what model you apply in your organization. Probably an email was sent, probably a telecom marketing campaign was done. He would have seen a Google advert, he would have come across a display ad, he would have met you in a trade show offline. So all these facets would have happened in a specific time frame for him to give you a meeting or a opportunity in the system, and the closure would have happened after that. But you cannot pinpoint and one source that this is really effective. It's basically that is a journey of the customer. So you really need to know what journey are they going through. That's why the first step is to understand how you got the customer, how the customers are coming to you, and how they behaved in your entire cycle. It takes time, but you need to work on that part of it first. Then you can easily go and tell, yeah, after 6 months or 7 months, if we start this campaign, down the line, 3 months or 4 months down the line, we will have so many meetings or so many customers who would really request. Based on the percentage of conversions which you're normally getting, you will come to know that this is what we can try and achieve.
Right. Thanks, Santosh.
Any other questions? Okay, so
Sorry, if any, I just realized I was on mute.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted to check if anybody has any questions, please to ask. I know Santosh is available on our WhatsApp and LinkedIn group, and he's always available to answer any questions. But please, this is a great opportunity to get his inputs on the topic that he shared with us today. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask right now. No, I think it's coming towards dinner time, so I'm just gonna wrap up. First and foremost, uh, thank you, Santosh. It was good. It was great topic. I really appreciate the effort that you've put in to build the storyline in your presentation and sharing it with us today. A few key points that I found, and I think which everybody would be taking away from here. Number one is the bounce rate analysis on your websites and landing pages. I really hope everybody tracks that. Everybody ensures that it's one of the key parameters being tracked on any digital campaigns that they do down the road to understand what's the hit and miss ratio coming from. Um, the second that I really liked about was the NPS scoring perspective. Um, Very few organizations, from my experience, are tracking that in our region. And that is something I do urge everyone to track, get your customers to promote you, talk about you. It's always one of the best things to do and have at your disposal, right? The last point that I liked, and this was purely from Akshat's query, 6 months is my sales cycle. I'm in a B2B organization, and how do I still analyze the impact that my spend is having? And I think, Santosh, your response was great. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your knowledge here today. We'll be getting back to you. We've recorded this session, so we'll try and make the recording uh, available. We've recorded this session. We'll try and make the recording available along with the copy of the presentation that Santosh shared with us today. I'll email it out to everybody who registered so that you get a chance to go through it and really hope that you found the session engaging. Before we all sign off, would be great if you all can unmute yourself, switch on your cameras so that during these times we see each other and then go and remember each other's faces. Right. Let me switch on too. Great. Everybody, would be great if you can just, brilliant. There I can see Sonali, Soumya, Shafia, Soham, Rohan, Rishi, and who else? And Nicola. Ah, there you are. Hi,
Hi.
good to see your faces. Right, we're all live, we're all well, we're all healthy. Stay that way, right? Wherever you are. And hopefully we'll catch up like this again. I think it's a great platform to continue to connect, maybe much more faster than before. Um, Sonali, thank you once again very much. Appreciate the effort put in to bring everyone like this together. We have a bigger turnout on this web session than we've had in the previous informal gatherings that we've done. So kudos to you. Absolutely. Appreciate that.
I would like to thank you too as well, for providing this great platform, and a big thank you to Santosh as well for this highly insightful session. That way, much appreciated, and we all did hear it out, and we did have some concerns and feedback on that, which I think in due course of time also we will, revert to you on that way.
Thank you and most welcome.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. Well, thank you all once again for sparing your evening with us. I hope it was engaging, interesting, and knowledge share was great. We're going to sign off and see you all together very soon. The group's there. You've got the WhatsApp group, LinkedIn group. I once again urge, please be more engaging. Share your stories, share what you've learned, share any content around marketing as a profession, as a subject, on the group so that everybody can learn from each other. And that's the whole purpose, and which is why I really like Reshma's design of the infinity circle, where we're all teachers and learners at the same time. We're learning from each other. So great, both by her. And well, thank you so much. Have a great evening. Good night, and stay safe and stay healthy, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.